think you've got to pop it into neutral, like so. Ah, now the fun really starts. Just my luck, when I finally get my hands on a toy such as this one, the rain clouds are opening up and I'm cruising on a regular road. But it's a good place to start. Let's start with what this Baic Beijing BJ, that's what Beijing stands for, by the way, 40 is all about on the road. Now, the first thing you'd expect from a car like this is that it's going to be driving terribly on the road thanks to those giant tires and off-road demeanor. But it's not actually bad. It actually drives quite smoothly. And I'm doing about 100 k's an hour now, and the car's driving very nicely, in fact. You do get, obviously, a lot of body roll when swerving like this, but that's what you would get in any car like this. When you've got around 500,000 to 600,000 to spend on an off-road weekend toy, there aren't that many options, especially not in the brand new category. Yes, you could probably find a Toyota or a used Jeep for that price. And of course, there's the effervescent Suzuki Jimny, which is also in that space. But when you're looking for something that's big, burly, and brute, there aren't that many options. But now, thanks to Baic, there's this. Baic has an entire range of capable off-road vehicles, from full-size family SUVs to weekend warriors ready for an off-road excursion. In fact, they built their first off-road vehicle as far back as the 60s and have recently been competing in the ultimate off-road proving grounds, the Dakar. On the road, the Baic feels very good. It feels typically Jeep-esque because of its big suspension and big tires. So it's not going to be the most comfortable to drive over long distances, but it's certainly not uncomfortable. I do notice a little bit of wind noise over 120 or so, which again, totally normal in a car like this that fits together like a jigsaw puzzle. More about that later. When it comes to on-road manners, it doesn't bounce around excessively and absorbs the bumps quite nicely. The first time I actually drove a Jeep, I was surprised at how bad it was on the road. This, however, is decent. This is the petrol version that makes 160 kilowatts and 320 newton meters of torque. You've also got a diesel version that makes 350 newton meters and 120 kilowatts. This one here has got the updated 8-speed gearbox, which is just a gem. Because it's the kind of gearbox that gets developed for multiple cars, it's already been through the development process, and in here, it just makes the rest of the car feel more cohesive. With Beijing's X55 taking the country by storm, it's no surprise that this BJ40 has ruffled quite a few feathers, especially considering the price. And even though it weighs over 2 tons, that 160 kilowatts, thanks to that 8-speed gearbox, hustles you around quite quickly. Noticeably, the wind noise doesn't increase at higher speeds, which is a good thing, but it is there though. Another thing off-road vehicles like this are known for is fuel consumption, and Baic's fuel consumption in some of their vehicles has been a little bit higher than average. This one is now averaging about 13.1 liters per 100, a little above the claimed figure. But I do think if you want the ultimate in economy and off-road ability, maybe opt for the diesel model. We start this test in a rainy Cape Town by driving the Baic on the road, where a lot of its time will more than likely be spent, but this isn't that kind of car. It's supposed to be something that you whip out on a Saturday morning on your way to adventure. And that's exactly what I'm about to do. The spirit of adventure, and there's nothing like external hinges and a windscreen that folds forward to remind you that you are experiencing the great outdoors. Now, as you can see, those are rain droplets, and A storm is brewing here in Cape Town, so I'm not going to take the roof off, but believe me, I'm quite tempted. Let's take a closer look at the styling of this bike over here. And no surprises, it looks a lot like something else. When this bike first debuted at the 2010 Beijing Motor Show, it was obvious where the inspiration came from. The B40 looks very, very utilitarian, starting with all these exposed hinges and even these door handles. Lots of chrome detailing over here, especially on those big rear view mirrors right there. And you've got 17-inch wheels, and in this case here, road bias tires. Now, these Terramax tires do seem to work quite well in the dunes, but when it comes to this type of vehicle, it's all about the upgrades. And the first thing I would change is put on some off-road tires. To give this a more individual look, the front over here is very much bike, with those slats across the grille and these very cool looking lights. You've also got that tow hook in front there, 2 of them, to make sure that if I do get stuck out here, at least I can get rescued. I do like that it's got a separate partition over here. You just got to make sure you close it in the right order. And it's a huge boot at the back there. The back seat space as well is also very, very good for passengers in the back. I do like when a side step is functional and sturdy like it is on this car. Of course, currently this bike is only available in 5-door configuration, but there are a whole bunch of very cool colors to choose from. It's always handy when the spare wheel is easy to get to when you're stuck in a situation like this. Also, what's handy are these recovery hooks over here, which are chassis mounted, so those are actually designed to pull you out of a tight spot. This version over here is the B40P, which is the top spec one. This one here is the 8-speed auto. I think it might be the pick of the bunch. Having said that, if you're looking to save some money on fuel, you're probably going to want the B40P diesel. So this is where the bike is said to excel. And this is where I come to seek some fun on the weekends, and this is exactly the kind of car that you can do this in. Oh, it's getting a little bit slippery out here. And yes, that is rain pitter-pattering against these windows. When it comes to a car like this, you want very, very good approach and departure angle so you can do the kind of things that I'm doing right now. And even though the approach, departure angles and the 210mm ground clearance isn't better than the Jeep, it's certainly on par. Approach angle is quoted at 37 degrees, departure angle at 31 degrees, and ramp angle at 23. Now, one of the things that you don't get with this vehicle is a locking differential, unfortunately. But Baic says that they do have an electronic system that'll help you in most situations to get those wheels spinning at the same speeds. Okay, here we go, up the hill, get some gas. Yes. Traction control coming in handy over here. So let's look at the interior over here. This does look and feel a lot like a Mercedes-Benz inside, and there's a reason for that. Mercedes and Baic have been working very closely together. Included in that working relationship is Hyundai. So you get a lot of those kind of parts floating around in the interior. For example, steering wheel, Mercedes. Indicator stalks, Mercedes. Stitching, looks like a G-Wagon. Yes, everything does look very expensive, and that's good, but for 600,000 or thereabouts, it's obviously not going to be exactly the same as the G-Wagon counterpart. Oh yes, donuts, donuts. But what you do get is something that for the price is unparalleled in this country. There is nothing else for this price that you can get that's even going to be close when it comes to spec and ability. I'm cruising around in 4 high at the moment, but you can select on the fly to go back to 2 high. And then if you want 4 low, I think you've got to pop it into neutral, like so. Wait a little bit, and there you go. You've also got, now the fun really starts. You've also got tire pressure and tire temperature monitors to keep you honest. On the inside here, you've got an infotainment system, and looking from the back, this looks a lot like a Mercedes-Benz. On the dashboard, you've got that electronic dash as well. It even shows you the angle of the steering wheel and a whole bunch of other cool features that are selectable if you go through these menus over here. You've got a very big stowage section in the middle here with USB port on the inside. What you don't get though is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but again, I'm more of an old school USB Bluetooth kind of guy. In the center console over here, you got this chunky gear lever, a 120 volt port over there, and then the park brake. Now the gear lever does have the letter P on it, but I don't think you can put it into park without switching the car off, which is quite different, but the Chinese have been known to do things differently. In the center console here, you've got a separate control section for your menus, but you can also use the touchscreen to go through radio, media, and car settings over here. I do quite like this touchscreen setup. Quite basic and simple, but very fast. And give me speed over technology any day. Now, if this was a normal day in Cape Town, I would be taking this roof off and having quite a bit of fun with the top down. Of course, this car is fully configurable like that, just like a Jeep should be. And again, if you're wanting to get this kind of functionality in any other car, you could be paying hundreds of thousands more or opting out of that warranty. In typical Cape Town fashion, the sun's been out for more than 3 minutes, and that means the roof has to come off. So far, it's pretty easy to get off. And that is how easy it is to remove the roof. Let's go have some fun. Don't forget your sunscreen once you get to the dunes, because you're gonna need it. Oh man, there is nothing like the freedom of driving an off-road vehicle with the roof down. There is nothing like it. Oh, don't get stuck, don't get stuck, don't get stuck. Okay, now let's try some descents. Oh, that's pretty steep. Oh, yes. Oh, and these approach angles and departure angles make it so easy, unlike a bucky, where you might have the tow bar hooking up on the back of the vehicle. You're not gonna have any of that issues here. All you're gonna have is fun, time after time after time. The engine braking works really well there. And the correct way in that situation would be to engage 4 low and then go downhill. But this car makes it so easy, even with these regular road tires. The nice thing about road tires on an off-road car is that it does compact the sand, so there are some advantages. We haven't even deflated these tires yet, and we're still kind of cruising around here like everything's totally fine. A value proposition that is unmatched in this segment. The B40 really does blaze a trail for itself. As you can see, I've had to put the roof back on, but that's not going to stop the fun. Although it may not be perfect, for this price it certainly can't be expected to be. But what it does give you is that sense of adventure and the ability to actually go on one. Home to Nissan, Hyundai, Isuzu, Renault, JAC, FAW, multi-franchise branches including the MyBuggy brand and now Cherry and Baic too. MyRide Group is your one-stop shop for all your motoring needs in the Western Cape and Gauteng. Visit myride.co.za to find out more.